Did you know the Army Special Ops Force that reportedly captured Venezuela's president is based right here at Fort Bragg? Which brings me to this new edition of Billy Ball Explains North Carolina. Every Wednesday, I break down the most important stories in North Carolina in plain English. This week, we got to talk about Venezuela and what these recent actions might mean for our active duty military personnel in North Carolina. Like a lot of people in the state, I grew up in a military family, so this hits close to home. Recently, the U.S. military carried out a strike in the South American country and, shockingly, captured the Venezuelan president, Nicolas Maduro, and his wife. Wait, we can do that?
Tonight, dramatic new video of that dangerous mission to seize Maduro that injured U.S. helicopter pilots. Explosions lighting up the hillside around Maduro's heavily fortified compound in Caracas, Cuba, saying 32 Cubans were killed before U.S. forces rushed Maduro and his wife into the helicopters, flying them out to a ship at sea.
I'm not really going to get into whether it was right or wrong for the U.S. to do what it did in Venezuela. That is a worthwhile discussion, but it's not the point of this video. No, I want to talk about the very real possibility that the United States goes to war with Venezuela and what that means right here in North Carolina. So let's state the obvious. It's a big deal. North Carolina has the fourth largest active duty military population in the country, behind only California, Virginia, and Texas. We're home to 2 of the 10 largest bases in the country, Fort Bragg, an Army base near Fayetteville, sometimes called Fort Liberty, depending on who's in the White House, and Camp Lejeune, a Marine base in Jacksonville. We also have one of the largest populations of active and reserve National Guard members. Here in North Carolina, more than most states, it matters a whole lot when the U.S. military kicks into action. People change plans, they're moved, sometimes they're sent into war zones. Now, I want to stress this too. We have no idea what's going to happen next. In my lifetime, we have never seen a more volatile or, frankly, unpredictable presidential administration. Technically, presidents are supposed to get permission from Congress before going to war. And by technically, I mean it's literally written in the U.S. Constitution that only Congress can declare war.
Who's in charge? Because I'll give you an answer and it'll be very controversial.
But since the Bush and Obama administrations started using drone warfare to strike at alleged terrorists in the Middle East, presidents are wielding a whole lot of power over military actions that years ago would have been considered an act of war. Trump's use of the military to strike at the Venezuelan capital and seize the country's leader represents a pretty big expansion on those presidential powers. So like it or not, it's possible we'll see more surprising military operations like this without seeing it go through Congress. Speaking of, the U.S. Senate, which is controlled by Trump's own party, is advancing a measure to try to limit his powers after Venezuela. Awkward! It's kind of like getting fired from a job that you're not really supposed to have in the first place, right? House Speaker Mike Johnson described the attack as a, quote, one-off, but the messaging we're getting from the White House sounds very different from that.
So we are going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. And it has to be judicious because that's what we're all about.
Now here's what that says to me. It says that Speaker Johnson knows that people can't afford like Cheerios or their groceries, and Trump ran on this America First thing and on not starting any wars, and here we are. Recently, Secretary of State Marco Rubio also laid out a long-term plan for U.S. involvement there. The reasoning is, well, quite obvious.
Venezuela is rich in gold, it's rich in rare earths, rare minerals, it is rich in gas. One of the largest deposits of gas in the world. It is rich in lithium. It has potential for tremendous lithium. It has coal. It has other minerals as well. So that the positioning of the U.S. as a investor in Venezuela or as a corporate interest in Venezuela is massive. It reminds me of what the American general in charge of the Caribbean during World War II said. If of all the countries of Latin America, I only want one ally, and that is Venezuela, because they're beautifully rich in oil and minerals.
At the same time, the U.S. has already carried out the largest naval buildup in the Caribbean since the Cuban Missile Crisis. And depending on how this unfolds, the type of troops that we see there could change. That matters because going to war or occupying a country is very different from a one-off military operation. Venezuela's new leader initially struck a defiant tone after Maduro's capture, and President Trump threatened her, so we could be headed for some ugly stuff. If this turns into the kind of on-the-ground conflict we saw in Iraq and Afghanistan after 9/11, it would affect all of our military branches. That goes without saying. But it's the Army and the Marines that tend to be put in some of the nastiest situations. And as I've said, North Carolina sits right at the center of that reality. We're home to the largest Army base in America and the second largest Marine base. We're talking more than 80,000 troops stationed at Fort Bragg and Camp Lejeune alone. Of course, that wouldn't be the only impact. North Carolina is also home to Seymour Johnson Air Force Base and Marine Corps Air Station Cherry Point, as well as other facilities. And it's not just the troops who feel it when we go to war. We have thousands of active duty personnel in North Carolina, and thousands more who are family members whose lives are upended alongside them. The burden is especially heavy in rural states like ours during wartime. Since 9/11, states like North Carolina reported some of the highest military death tolls. When you break those casualties down per capita, as in a percentage of our population, rural states carry a disproportionate share of the cost. That's why everyone in North Carolina should have their eyes on Venezuela right now. Thanks for watching Billy Ball Explains North Carolina. We're here every Wednesday on YouTube. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to Cardinal and Pine so you won't miss an episode.